a podcast about amazing people from an incredible state. Join Mike Broomhead for Amazing Arizonans, presented by Resolution Copper. Copper is essential to Arizona's economy and to America's future. Learn more at resolutioncopper.com.
The podcast is called Amazing Arizonans, and it's just like it sounds. It's amazing stories of people right here in our state. And Stephanie Vasquez is joining us. We've never met.
Nope.
But my boss and you are friends, and she is just over the moon with some of the work you're doing. And from what I've heard, it's incredible. So I'm going to let you start with telling me a little bit about your story.
I'm going to give us a whole view of it all.
Perfect.
Because it really, at the end, you're going to think she planned it this way, and I did not.
Okay.
So I'm a native Phoenician. Grew up right here in Maryvale.
Is that where you went to high school?
Yeah, I did go to high school in Maryvale. Later on, went to college at ASU, and I had always just wanted to be a teacher. And not to say just, because, education's huge.
Right.
I was a teacher, loved it. Delve into the Santa Maria community. Went to Costa Rica and had, you can call it, some people call it ahas. I just had a life-shifting experience where I went on a tour at a coffee plantation and learned about coffee. I had no idea that coffee grew from a plant.
Okay.
It was just this wonderful beverage that I drank every day. And I learned about coffee and how exploitative it is to our people and to our planet. And I, as a consumer, was supporting that. So that's where it was like, okay, this look-see move woman I was going to do something about this. And so fast forward in 2007, I took over Fair Trade Cafe, and we are now the longest standing coffee house in downtown Phoenix, celebrating 18 years this month. And loving it. And through all of that, I've had to figure out, I've learned what it is to be a social entrepreneur. And that's how I would classify myself. I'm a social entrepreneur. And then I was asked by our now mayor, at the time she was a councilwoman, to speak on the gender pay gap. And to be frank, I had no idea that there was still such a pay gap based on gender. And that's where the seed really was planted for my nonprofit, EYA, which is Empowering Latina Leaders in Arizona. Indigenous women and Latinas are the lowest paid people on the planet to date.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but it also is a group that is very entrepreneurial at their heart.
Very.
Which is a strange combination.
Well, not really. If you really start to
No, I meant the low pay with the entrepreneurship.
Well, I think the low pay feeds into, I think there becomes this, because when you start looking at statistics, and I don't want to get to, stats, but when you look at Latinas being the head of household, the breadwinners.
Right.
So it becomes, I would venture to say that it comes from survival.
Yeah.
That we are unable to sustain our families on being the lowest paid people.
Okay.
So what happens is, let's create another revenue. Let's start a business. So you're absolutely right. Latinas are opening businesses at astronomical numbers. However, we hit this ceiling. It's something like less than 2% of us ever hit $1 million in revenue. And it's really, really interesting. However, I'm going to go back to the nonprofit. So learning about the gender pay gap is why the nonprofit started.
Okay.
And that was in 2015. And so EYA has been around since 2015. We have 3 programs. The Mujeres Mercado, which is an outdoor market for Latina business owners. And from that, I was watching the business owners, load in, load out, some of them successful, some of them not. The summer times, it's way too hot to have an outdoor market. So what happens let's be honest, Arizona summer is 4 months. So what happens to those businesses is, it's not sustainable. So that's where the idea for Amor Collective came. And Amor Collective is Arizona's only Latina incubator. And so we just launched our 4th season, and we're in the heart of downtown Phoenix. And the reason that was created was, let's come together, let's scale our businesses, mitigate some of the risk, and put us in high foot traffic spaces where we can actually be supported. Mm-hmm. And we get to play a little bit. And when I say play, I mean, let's test our products in the mainstream market.
Being a former business owner myself, having someone, which I didn't, having someone that's a believer in what you're doing, having someone that's a mentor, but also willing to put in support to what you're doing is an invaluable thing.
Priceless.
Yeah. So you've got people that have the drive and they have the heart. They may not have the money and they certainly don't have the experience. And for you to invest in them in that way, to give them a space, is an incredible thing for you to do. What motivates that? I mean, to me, what motivates that? What drives you to not just be successful in your business, but to help other people be successful in theirs?
You know, we're going to go deep.
Okay.
Because I love that you're a former business owner as well, because you understand a lot of times, because you don't have the money, you don't have the resources, and you typically don't have the support, because typically the family is like, what are you doing? You're crazy. Why would you do this?
The long hours.
Right. However, that hope, if you could put a dollar amount on hope will get you where you need to go. And a lot of times just being surrounded by the other crazies, you know, it does something to you. It ignites that hope. And for me, being an entrepreneur, as an independent mother, there was lots of different variables, and I didn't have that mentor that you were speaking about. And I think it was one of those things is you see a gap and you feel it. And I have so much lived experience from the trials to get to, you called it success. I don't feel like I'm quite there yet. You know, there's always another level. However, it felt very lonely, and getting access to capital and just all the things were so hard. So to me, it was like, okay, let's pave a pathway, because it does not need to be this hard.
But isn't it that's the part, that's the first thing I thought of when you said that you hit this ceiling that nobody gets to $1 million in revenue. The frustration for me was I was good at what I did, but I didn't have the money to grow.
Yeah.
I made a huge mistake. I mortgaged my house to make my company grow. But it feels like, and I'm sure many people have felt this way, that nobody's going to loan you the money you need to grow until you don't need the money. And then they all want to loan you the money.
Exactly.
So for people to be in a position where they know they've got a great product or they have a great idea. I was good. I was an electrical contractor, so I was good at what I did. But I didn't have the ability to grow because I didn't have the money to do it.
Exactly.
That's tough.
I was just having this conversation that it's incredible to me how much easier it gets once you've hit this level of perceived success.
Right.
In the beginning, you're crazy.
Right.
In the beginning, it's risky. And it's getting through all of that. And it's a lot. Like, it's a lot in order to get there. However, once you're there, everyone's like, here, take this loan and what about this? And you get so much support. But by then, how many of our entrepreneurs have lost hope and desire because they've lost their homes or whatever the case might be.
Or even if they're surviving, they're working so many hours a day in a week to make survival. They end up saying, I could take a job, make the same money. And it's that drive that some people have to succeed. But it's breaking through that barrier and you helping people do that. Did you know that that's what you were going to do when you started doing that? When you started mentoring people, was the mindset, I'm going to help other people kick the door down?
For sure.
That's awesome.
For sure. Like I said, it was one of those things that it cannot be this hard for everyone. And I used to tell myself, this is only this difficult for me so I can learn, so that I can teach. I think it kind of goes full circle back to being a teacher.
And being able then to bring other businesses together in one space and say, instead of being competitors maybe, or instead of thinking that you got to compete with each other, if we help each other, we're all going to be stronger.
Exactly. And that, in the beginning, when I was first pitching this idea, it sounded crazy. Like, what do you mean you want to have a bunch of businesses in one space? And what about the businesses have that similar products? And, all of this, because also from a consumer standpoint, we're used to going into one space, buying a certain product. Right. And if we want to buy from someone else, we go somewhere else. Now, to put us all in the same room, doesn't that increase competition? And it does not. I believe in collaboration over competition, and it has proven itself. I mean, granted, we're 4 years in. However, it has been just incredible to watch as this thing grows, and the barriers we're able to just completely break down as a community.
Can you give me an example of someone that you've watched thrive and the pride. You must be proud to see that you almost like you looked at them and said, I knew it.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give me an example?
I mean, there's
or a couple?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many stories. And I think that to me is my definition of success. Yes, money and security and all those things are great. But when you can help someone else, even if you can just be on those sidelines and watching the wings come open, just absolutely incredible. As of right now, we've had, like I said, 4 seasons, and we've seen 5 different businesses leave and open up their own storefronts. So, I mean, that in it of itself
is amazing.
Yes.
For anybody that's ever tried to do that.
I mean, that jump from pop-up to storefront is
massive.
I mean, yes. What's a bigger word for massive?
Yeah. You know, it's interesting you say that. In my family, success was different. I was raised by a single mom, and she struggled. When my dad left, and she was just left with 3 boys to raise. She was working unskilled jobs, but she had to put a roof over our head. And she worked at a real estate office as a receptionist. And then the guy that owned the office was nice enough to pay her to clean the office once a week to give her extra income. He went to her and said, I can't offer you a career, but my wife is the vice president at a hospital, and she's looking for an administrative assistant where they have benefits and they have a 401k and they have health insurance and they have the things I can't give you. And his wife hired my mother, and my mother worked at that hospital for 27 years. And now my mom is retired, which would have been impossible had there not been someone like you that says to someone, I can help you be better. It was, for my family, it was life-changing.
Absolutely.
So you're generationally changing lives for people.
I want to change the trajectory of family history.
So when someone says you're crazy, because that's the first thought in my head was, now that it works, everybody wants to high-five you.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, I haven't been called crazy in a very long time, and quite some time. And it's a reminder to do more. Like, okay, we've done this. Where are we going next?
But isn't it also, how many people, and I would imagine some people would say to you, why are you doing that? If you focus on, you put that energy in your business, how much, but the people had to say that to you.
I think certain mindsets will say that to me, but I live by the rules of giver's gain. Mine will come eventually. Majority of the things that I do don't have a paycheck. I mean, I'm sitting with you right now, and the argument could be like, well, Stephanie, if you spend this hour and a half on your business, you can grow your business. And you can make some money there. You're not getting paid here. And I disagree. I think that this to me is we invest in each other.
Correct.
And there will be an ROI, a return on investment eventually. And I'm not doing this for that purpose. It's because it feels right. Like this, I feel like I'm living in my purpose.
Yeah. Stronger together.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Some of the best things, absolutely the best things I get to do in this job are the things that I do outside of this building that I'm not collecting a paycheck for, but this job affords me the ability to do those other things. And it's the most satisfying things I get to do when you can help somebody else out. I'm glad we share that with each other. So what is it that what do people need to know about what you do that they would be surprised? What is a surprise that something you've accomplished, and maybe even you were surprised that it happened as a byproduct of what you're doing?
I think sitting right here and being able to look back on it and share it is a surprise, because it sounds like a well-crafted story. It sounds like a book. It sounds like we're reading this book. You know, I was a very young mother, an independent mother. The odds were not in my favor. I mean, not to mention where I lived, the family I came from, being such a young independent mother, starting a business. What's the likeliness of any food and beverage business? You know, it's 1.5% that you are actually going to succeed. You know, in the first 3 years, 50% are gone. You know, and to say that we've been here 18 years. So I shock myself, you know, this whole thing is really crazy.
Every restaurateur, and I know it's not a restaurant, but every restaurateur that I know warns everybody that wants to go into that business, don't, because it's such a financial risk.
It is.
And that so many of them fail. The old adage is, if you want to make $1 million in the restaurant industry, start with $2 million, because it's a losing proposition. So you succeeded beyond what people thought you would succeed in your own business. But beyond that, building a coalition of what you're doing. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I think that, for me, I have such respect for that you see outside of yourself. Not many people do that. You have to be selfish to be successful sometimes.
Yeah. I think that this is how my family was. We always helped our neighbors. And I remember when my dad would bring home people, various homeless or unsheltered people. And there was this one man in particular, his name was Severo. And one day he came home with Severo, and Severo was not in good shape. And I later learned that he had come over and he was just dropped on the side of the street near reservations. And my dad used to do floor covering, and he picked him up and kind of brought him back to life. And Severo lived in our backyard for I don't even know how long, until he became part of the family and then lived in the house, and ended up working with my dad. But long story, just to say that this is kind of how I was raised, is that we help each other. And so when I see so many business owners struggling and getting up, and building these businesses, and I've got a little bit of experience to share, I'm going to share it. And that's exactly what we do. Yes, it's a retail store. However, we've got monthly business meetings, and we bring the businesses all, we all come together, and they're connected to resources and they're connected to people so that they can build their network. So by the time they have their 1-year rotation, they literally have this toolbox. I see in my head a huge briefcase of all these people that they can call for business banking, that they can call for insurance, that they can call for marketing, that literally every single tool that you need, you walk away from this program and you walk out and you have what you need. And that, to me, is something that is priceless. Because think about it, like you said, you're working all these hours, and you are human resources. You're hiring people. You're fixing the clogged toilet. I mean, you're literally a jack of all trades. So what happens when you have a little support? Your shoulders relax just a little. What happens when you have someone in your corner telling you can do it, or someone you can call at any time, or even a space? Yesterday, I was at Amor, and about 6 different business owners rotated in and out, and the way that they have strengthened within themselves, their own sub-community. And it's somewhere you can go to be like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do. My sales aren't where they need to be, blah, blah. And all of a sudden a collaboration happens. And then they connect with the marketing person. And it's literally a built-in business center from start to finish. You have a crazy idea. That crazy idea isn't going to sit in your head for a month, or a year, or how long. It's going to happen. And it's going to happen probably within the next couple of weeks, because you're surrounded by resources and people that are here for it. It's magic. Do
you approach them, or do they approach you? How does it work that you come together with these people? Well,
we have a program. The first Thursday of every single month, we have a planned business meeting. Now, in between, there's tons of touch time. So, I have a link. So if someone wants to, like a calendar link, if someone wants to book some time to sit with me, we do that. Sometimes it's just random. I'm walking in and they're like, oh my gosh, Stephanie, blah, 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 blah. It kind of depends. And also, if there's red flags, I can't help myself. Not that I have diarrhea of the mouth, but if I see that there's a train wreck coming, I'm going to say something. Or if I see an opportunity.
When you have someone, a new business that comes to you, and you kind of explain to them, and I again, because we haven't met, maybe this is an ignorant question, but when you have people that you explain to them, this is how I can help you, and this is what we can do, they have to think it's too good to be true. They have to ask, what's the catch?
Well, I think the Latino community, we run by referrals. And I believe that I've created a fairly good reputation for myself. I don't think that it's too good to be true. I think it's like, how do I make sure I'm in that next rotation?
Right.
It is really.
But when
what
they
it is.
hear it,
Mm-hmm.
it's got to be, well, you started off and nobody helped you.
Right.
So
right.
there's got to be people out there that, because people are coming to you and they're saying, my family tells me I'm crazy. I'm never going to make it. This isn't going to happen. And then you say to them, you're going to make it and you're going to be a part of this team.
Mm-hmm.
That there's got to be a piece of them that thinks this sounds way too good to be true. Not because of you, but just in general, nobody's ever wanted to help me.
I think it's what I see in people's eyes and what I feel from them is relief.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I am right. I knew this was a great idea, or I knew this was a good product, or I knew, I think it's relief more than too good to be true. I think it's almost like, okay, I'm where I need to be. This is it. Someone
believes in me.
Yes. It's kind of like when you don't feel good, or at least for me, right now I have a little bit of a cold and you just want your mom, you just want your mom. It's like that comforting. And that's kind of what we are in that business. When we're talking about the business community, it's somewhere you can go and you can have the crazy ideas and you can get, when you walk through, I'm going to kind of describe the store. The store is created for a normal consumer experience. So we don't have like dividing walls or anything. You're going to come in and you're just be like, okay, I'm shopping. There's so much detail in the space. One of the things is we have plaques on everyone's areas and has a picture of the business owner. It has their story, their bio, and a QR code to take them to their website. So the idea is that when a business owner walks in, they see, she did it. By the time you get halfway through, you're like, I can do this.
When customers come in and they see what's happening there, we are big promoters on my show of local, support small businesses, especially when you've been a small business owner. There has to be a sense of that from a customer's perspective too, that they realize that they're getting a great service, whatever it is that they're getting, but at the same time, they're supporting a local business.
Yes. A lot of times what will happen is people will just kind of meander in and not realize it's a 50-50 kind of like crapshoot. Okay. There's some customers that know. I love sitting in the back and watching as they are learning about what we're doing when it's just a consumer just walking in and they realize that, wait a second, this is so much more than simply shopping. Because to me, when we can connect the brain to the heart, that's the magic sauce right there. So when people understand, oh, I'm coming in to buy blah, 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 and they end up realizing, wow, my purchase is actually impacting this business, this person, and this family. Because really, that's what we're doing every single day, but we just don't realize that. So again, this is that educator part where we're able to teach through experience, and now we've created change.
The old adage in sales that if I can make you a customer, I'm only halfway there. If I can make you an advocate, now I've done something, because now you're going to go and tell other people, you got to go buy this. You got to go see these people. And if you're creating that atmosphere for people, when they say, you got to shop at this place, you have to go, that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
So when you first started doing this, was there ever a time where you thought, maybe this isn't going to work as well as I thought, or did it take off immediately?
No, the whole time. I mean, I was scared because to start a business and impact yourself is one thing. When you're taking 30 plus other women with you, you have a sense of responsibility. I mean, I look at it because I can only see through the lens of my own eyes. I'm a mother of 3, and that sense of responsibility that I have for my 3 babies, that it's like that. And I know these business owners, I know their children, I know their families. So there's a way, the emotional risk that I was taking, and I openly shared it with them. I remember we have meetings and we're getting ready to do our first grand opening, and I was crying. And I was like, you guys, I don't know if this is going to work. Let me just be completely honest. I have no idea if this is going to work. And thank you for being here with me and taking a risk with me, because I was asking them to take a risk. So there is, and there still continues to be. However, I know, like deep in my gut, that this is something special. So special.
You mentioned your children. What do your children think? I mean, are your children? My mom got much smarter when I got out. I didn't realize the sacrifice my mother made until I had to support just myself. Mm-hmm. And I look back now, my mother, thank God my mother is still alive. She's 82 years old and she's in great health. I have such a deep respect, but I also have a regret that I didn't understand it when I was a kid because I wasn't kind and I didn't understand the sacrifice. Do your children appreciate your accomplishment?
Well, they were, so my children are 31, 25, and 14. Okay. So they all got to see varying stages. My 14-year-old, this is just how life is.
Okay. Fair enough.
Whereas my 31 and my 25-year-old, they were there for it. Because I started my business when my oldest was in middle school.
Okay.
And my 25-year-old, she was 7. So they got to feel the crashing and the burning and the pressure of it all. And I would say, I think it's the same way. Kids don't understand until you grow up and you have this other perspective of, wow, that was kind of cool. How did mom make that happen? Kind of like what you're saying,
The success part of it, though, as far as business success and financial security. Mm-hmm. But the other piece of that is your desire, not just willingness, your desire to help others. Mm-hmm. Do they appreciate that? Do they, well, you say you learned it from your father or from your family. Yeah. Are they learning it from you?
Oh, for sure. For sure. This is how I was raised. This is the home that they were raised into. They also live by those philosophies, and they may not use the verbiage that I do. However, I see it in the work that they do, for sure.
How about your father? How about your family? They probably weren't surprised.
No. They're very surprised.
They were?
Well, not surprised, but they weren't supportive in the beginning.
Okay.
So I think if anything, it's a sense of relief, like, whew, okay, she was able to pull this one off.
Because they wanted to protect you.
For sure. And I understand that now, again, because in the beginning, it's like, why aren't they supporting me? Why aren't this? They just want you to, to be safe and all the things. It was very risky what I was doing.
Yeah.
I know that now. Ignorance is bliss. I had no idea in the beginning.
It is.
I'd much rather do it the way I did it, because if I would know right now and think I was going to start a coffee shop, I probably would not. Yeah.
I have a close friend in the restaurant industry, and back in my days of working as an electrician, I was working on a piece of her equipment, sitting on the floor fixing a piece of equipment, and I said to her, I've always dreamed of owning a restaurant. And she actually smacked me on the head and said, don't be stupid. And kind of like your parents saying to you, we just want you to be safe, be smart. But if you're an entrepreneur, safe and smart are not the way you become successful.
No, there was no way I was going to not attempt to do the things that I've attempted to do. There was no way. There was no one that could have said anything and that could have stopped me. Now, it would have been nice to maybe get a little help, But yeah, when you've got that entrepreneurial spirit, that grit and that tenacity and stubbornness, not a whole lot's going to stop you.
Yeah, and I think that there's almost a freedom sometimes. I maybe you disagree with me, but in my life, growing up the way we did, where we were kind of always on the edge of not having anything, there's almost a freedom in having nothing to lose. That of course, I'm going to take this risk because I can't fall much further. Mm-hmm.
And really, there's no other option than up.
Yeah.
When you're hungry or when you need the bare essentials, what you're willing to do for them, for sure.
When I was, and I don't want to make this about me, it's about you, but just the only connection I can make in understanding is my life experiences to yours. There was a time when I was young, when a friend of my mother's brought a carload of groceries to our house when my mother wasn't there. Mm-hmm. And it was the first time in a long time that our pantry was full, and so was the refrigerator. And she didn't think I remembered her. I knew who she was. And when my mom got home, I told her who it was that had helped us. And my mother was in tears because of somebody just gave her a little relief. Mm-hmm. And I never forgot that. And for me, giving is such a privilege because I know what it feels like to be the one that receives. For you to recognize that it was such a struggle to be successful, to say, I just want to make it a little you're going to do the work, but I'm going to make it a little easier for you, is one of the most commendable stories I think I've ever heard.
Thank you.
I think it's incredible. I really, to dedicate your life to be successful in your field, but to dedicate yourself to making other people successful is one of the most selfless stories I've ever heard. That's an incredible goal for you.
Thank you.
Is there a next?
I go through phases where you have to have these SMART goals, and they need to be planned out. And what I've learned is that my goals are never big enough. We keep our ceilings so low, and I don't know what's next. And I can openly say that I'm going to flow like water. I'm here for the next opportunity. However, the huge goal for me is right now I've got this suite where we can, I'm going to say service, 36 business owners right now. It's not enough.
That's amazing.
But it's yes, and it's not enough. I need a very large footprint so that I can service businesses at varying levels. So when the businesses are ready to take that next step, they can take it in and they want to go into their own space. And then they want a larger space. Because the education and the support, it never ends. You never get enough. So how can we do this on a larger scale? We had over 700 applicants for this year.
Wow.
Right. And I'm servicing 36. Yes, 36 is great. However,
compared to the need.
Yes, I can do so much more with a larger space. I need a larger space. And I'll openly say this, I'm ready to expand the program. The need is there. The city loves it. The people love it. So I'm looking for a very large building.
We've talked about shared experience, and when you need the help, no one's there to help you. And then when you don't need the help, everybody wants a piece.
Right.
When did that moment happen for you? Was there a moment where you realized there are people that want to be a part of my success when they weren't there when I was grinding it out?
I'm going to erase when they weren't there.
Okay.
I attempt to not bring that with me.
Okay.
It's more of like...
See, I'm more bitter than you are.
And I try not to be. I really do attempt not to be because a bitterness can get you, you know? So it's more of like, I'm grateful that people are seeing what I'm doing and want to be part of the story now is what. And there is quite a few people, quite a few.
I would imagine. Mm-hmm. I think because success is infectious. It's not a greed, but it's infectious. When you're around somebody that is successful, you may feel like, well, if they can do it, I can do it, which is a great thing to transfer to someone. But also, people want to be around success. They love a success story. Mm-hmm. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think it's energy too. When someone is successful, they speak different. They carry themselves different. Their essence is just different. When someone is really struggling, they speak different. Their energy is different. Their essence is different. So, of course, we want to be around. We gravitate towards that. So I think the biggest thing is to help people and support them to be as successful as they can be. Because what does just our community look like if we're surrounded by people that are successful? What is our children's lives like? What are their friends' lives like? And that ripple effect. So if we can help more people, what happens to the world?
Mm-hmm. I agree. Mm-hmm. It's such a great attitude. So then how would you define success? You have somebody that's struggling that comes to you and is going to be a part of the program. How would you define what success looks like?
Well, if we're talking about someone else that's coming into the program, it's being a part of them, realizing their full potential. Because once you realize and you understand, like, oh, I am capable of this, they're unstoppable. So to me, that is success.
How do you get them to flip that switch?
I don't get anyone to do anything. I just hold the mirror. There's certain things that, I'll hear them, certain things that I'll say, it's just coaching them to get there. There's nothing that I do. I don't sprinkle any dust on anyone. No. I just see people. I can see people. I can see their passion. I can see their heart. I can just see them, and I can see that potential. And sometimes it doesn't happen under my quote unquote timeline because, of course, I'm not patient. I want everything to happen right now. I want to see it right now. And sometimes I don't get to see it. However, once I see that potential, I'm not going to let you, you're not going to get too far. I'm going to hold that mirror and we are going to do this.
But in order to be able to accomplish that, I would imagine that there has to be in some cases that aren't successful.
For sure.
So how do you then, what do you learn from that? What do you learn from the people maybe that you've tried to help that haven't been successful because they don't ever see that and they don't see in themselves what you see in them?
That's the most difficult. If all the work that I'm doing, that's the most difficult part, is when a person doesn't see it in themselves. Because I can't talk you into believing in yourself. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can say. There's not a resource I can give you. Like that is the person's secret sauce. And that's the most heartbreaking, is when you can see like, oh, this is, you have such an incredible idea or whatever it is, whatever that variable is. But when I can see it more than they can see it, there's nothing I can do.
You can't do the work for them.
No. And that's the thing, is that to get to success, it's just a series of failures. And that's the part that it might be, for me, there was over a decade of failures to get to success. Mm-hmm. And there still is. There's still failures. However, I see them for what they are. It's like, okay, I'm just learning this right now. And I start my day every day and I'll say that, like, okay, let's bring on all the learning opportunities, because that's all this is.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to run a business in the beginning. And now, I have a team of over 30 people and I get how this works, but I don't know what it's like to run a team for 60. So, I mean, it's just a series of, people call them failures, and I'm just going to call them learning opportunities.
It's interesting because I say to people that I'm a destination person. I'm not a journey person. Okay. I want to get to where I need to go. But when I stop to think about it, when it's something that I'm passionate about, this business that I fell into this career, I didn't create this career for myself. I will tell you that the journey has been the best part of it, not the destination, because there really isn't a destination. I don't know where it's going to end or how it's going to end. But I can tell you that I enjoy coming to work every day. Not everything's been successful, like you say. Not everything has been a bright, shiny star every day. But I can tell you that I enjoy those days in hindsight just as much as I've enjoyed the best days in the business. And that's the journey, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm very similar to you. Let's get there. Like,
yes.
Come on, let's get there. And I've had to force myself to journal every night. And as I'm reflecting on the day, I'm like, wow, this was a great day. Blah, blah, blah happened and blah, blah, blah happened. Yeah, okay, this also happened. However, this is what came of that. You really get to kind of see. And it really is the journey. Like you said, we're here to explore and to learn. And I call it a playground. This life is a playground. So, let's play. Let's fall off the monkey bars.
Yeah.
But we got to get back up.
Yeah. It's interesting. I find myself now in my head, I feel like I'm still a 20-year-old kid, but I know that I'm the older guy here at work. It's painfully obvious to me every day that I'm the older guy around here, but I work with such great young people, and I'm watching kids in their 20s, and I hate saying that because I don't be insulting. They're adults, but they're kids to me, so young in their career, and I look at potential in them, and I think, I just know that they're going to be something incredible, and I don't know if they see it in themselves, but it's so much fun watching talent blossom, isn't it?
Yes. I hope you tell them.
I do. I try to tell them. There have been a couple of people that have worked here that have gone on and left, and I was sorry to see them go. But to see their success outside of this building and watch them say, I know I can do it. Yeah. It's the coolest thing to see.
Yes.
See, it's so funny because I knew basically what you did because it was Martha explained it to me, but I had no idea of the depth of the motivation. Oh, yeah. And I absolutely get the motivation that there has got to be this excitement in seeing potential in someone and then watching them fulfill that potential. Not you doing it for them. You could write somebody a check. That's not the same.
No.
So what is it? What's the secret to you? when you look at that, when you see, what's the secret for you to getting someone to realize their potential or seeing it in them? What is it about you that sees that differently than other people? Because nobody took a risk on you, but you knew you were going to be successful. You see the success in someone else. What is it about you that sees it?
I've never been asked this question. I would just say that we're all interconnected and we're so much more like each other than we're not. And so well,
the world needs to hear that today, doesn't it?
I mean, yes. And it's, we can get biblical and we can say do unto others, right. Or we can just get very elementary. Things are very simple and we complicate them. What I would say is that when I'm seeing someone, I can see myself in them. Mm-hmm. And what would I want someone to do for me? And if we just kind of move that way, again, what would this world look like?
Well, there's a spectrum of people. There's the people way over here that say, get a job, mm-hmm. And then there's people way over here like you that say, how can we make the world a better place? Mm-hmm. In between, there's different levels. I mean, I have friends that are very kind, and they are people that have money, and they are willing to write a check to a good cause. Mm-hmm. There's a difference between writing a check for a good cause, which is a great thing to do, mm-hmm. and wanting to affect a difference in someone. And that's the difference. And I guess that's what I'm trying to find out is what is it that makes you the person that wants to invest in people's lives as opposed to just writing a check?
I think it started because I couldn't write a check. A check wasn't going to be my answer. Mm-hmm. I wasn't in a position to, here, let's write a check. And don't get me wrong, those people are definitely creating change.
Absolutely.
Like those people, please write a check to my nonprofit so I can continue to expand and do the work that I'm doing. However, I'm more of, all right, let me roll my sleeves up and we have some work to do. And I think that we all kind of have this different purpose when it comes to working with people. And some are going to be check writers. Some people are going to be the ones that are in the trenches. And others of us are going to be the ones in the trenches,
right,
that are actually receiving the support. So, and I think we all get our turn in the barrel. And how are we going to show up when it's our turn?
I have a friend who has an organization of future leaders, and it's a 1-year program of young people and mentoring and instilling them, pulling out their leadership qualities. Mm-hmm. And they asked me to speak at the dinner, and I told them it's a unique person that recognizes a need in someone else. My grandfather, when I was young, because of the strained relationship with my father when he was in the home, and I try it in this way. I don't look at the negative. My mother's father was such an influence to me. He died when I was 9, and it's almost 50 years ago. And I can tell stories about my grandfather from 50 years ago that are like they were yesterday. But I know now that he saw what my life was like. And if he didn't invest in me then, how dramatically different my childhood would have ended up. And I think that when you have that ability to see it in people, you can't turn away from it.
No, there's no way.
When you talk about 700 people applying and only having space for 38 and it's not enough, I would say that many people would look at you and say, 38 is an amazing number. You see.
There's so much more work to do. Yes, 100%. And I know that we have the capacity to do it. So it's that same feeling in the beginning where you're like, for me, when I wanted to open a coffee shop, it's a great idea. And I know it's a great idea. No one wants to fund you, blah, 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 blah. It's the same thing, However, I'm here. I have this concept, and now we just need a building. We need a building. We're going to build capacity. There's more people. We're going to fill a need. And when we look at it, it's cyclical, because when this program is successful, what then happens to local dollars in our economy? It boosts our economy. So, it's win-win all around. We're going to get there.
But getting people to believe in it is the harder part. It sounds like a great idea, but you are way too optimistic. You had to have heard that.
Oh, all the time. But I live in that world. Like, that's the world that I choose to live in, because the opposite of optimistic is not going to get me where I need to get.
Right.
So I'm going to choose to be in this dream land where the crazy people have all these great ideas. That's where I'm going to choose to be. That's where change happens.
Yeah.
We can't do the same old, and think that something different is going to happen. We know that.
Well, you said earlier, fall off the monkey bars.
Mm-hmm. Got to fall off. You have to.
Well, and that's what scares people is that I don't want, if I don't fall, I won't hurt. So if I don't get on, there's no chance of falling.
Right. It's fear.
Yeah.
Hands down. Fear stops us from literally everything. Although I will say that all of us have had great ideas at some point. Mm-hmm. And a good chunk of us don't do anything about it. And I can guarantee that those that have not done something towards that great idea look back and they're, I wonder what would have happened. That's the worst feeling for me. That's a horrible feeling. Not knowing what could have happened versus like, you know what? I'm going to fall. I'm going to scrape myself, but I'm going to have a great story. Let's see if it works.
I had someone say once, you will always, this is when I was much younger, you will always regret the things you didn't do more than the things you've done.
Yes.
So do it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So,
and I wish more of us said that to people. Like, let's go and live these wonderful lives, these crazy, colorful things. Let's go and do it. Let's go fail a bunch. And then we'll hang out later and talk about it. Yeah. Yeah, because I look back on some things and think that was a disaster, but I do it with a smile on my face that it was a disaster, but it's a great story to tell. Yes.
It's a great memory.
Yes.
When you think about the lives you're investing in, when you think about these people, do you also try to impart with them, or do they have it inside of them that they also are going to pass it on to someone else? Is that part of what you do with them? Is that this is a community where we're building each other up, but I want you to take what you leave here with and go impart that into someone else. Is that part of it?
I'd say that's the example that I hope to leave. Although these businesses are all on different levels. Mm-hmm. So when we're starting, there's this one business owner that I absolutely adore where she's at, because she's at the very beginning and she is so excited. And she's at that place where she wants to throw everything on the wall and see what sticks. And although it's still survival. Mm-hmm. So she's not yet in like, well, I can do this in the future. And she's not that far out yet to see it. Mm-hmm. Right now, she's exploring, childlike exploring. And I think this is what I really enjoy about her, is because it's not fear-based, but it's definitely in the right now. Like, okay, let's see if this works and let's watch it for a little bit. She's not thinking about what she can leave, or she's not there yet.
Is perspective a lot of what you do in giving them perspective and where they are?
100%. It's changing your view on something. Once you change the way you look at something, it looks different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes, you're looking this far and you need to look that far, or you can look that far.
There was a point with my business where I was really in debt when the economy crashed 08, 09. Oh. I've said it on the air. I was $250,000 in debt. Mm-hmm. And I didn't sleep for 2.5 weeks. I mean, I didn't eat, I didn't sleep. And I have a friend who had been in business much longer than I had. And he said to me, I was $3 million in debt. And I'm telling you that it seems like, I don't care what the dollar amount is, mm-hmm. It seems like this is a hill you will never climb. Mm-hmm. But I can promise you, in 5 years, this is going to be a distant memory, and maybe even a good one. And he was 100% right. Had I not had someone say that to me,
exactly,
I could have been consumed by the fear that I was in. Is that part of it with these 100%. People that think they've got something in front of them they're never going to overcome? Mm-hmm.
And I always tell them, like, you're sharing your story, and I'm laughing because I've been there more than one time. Like, I understand exactly. Yeah. I know the gut wrenching feeling that the quiet car rides. That
I had 18 employees, and I thought, I got 18 people I got to pay.
Mm-hmm. And you're paying them before you pay yourself. And yeah, I know exactly where you were at. And what I call that is 3 feet from gold. So anytime I feel that feeling, I'm like, Stephanie, you are 3 feet from gold. Keep going. It's then that narrow vision, just one step at a time. What's the next thing? What can you do? What can you do right now? And that's what you focus on. So when business owners are there, you're 3 feet from gold, and they'll look at me like, what does that mean? Think about it for a quick second. All right, this is what we're dealing with. These are the problems that you're bringing to me. What's something you can do right now? You just got to take it in baby steps. Because when you're looking at that $3 million or whatever it is, it's ginormous. You know, well, what can you do about it right now?
Where were you 15 years ago when I could have used that advice?
I was in the trenches.
Yeah.
I probably needed that advice.
Yeah.
Like the things that I am saying are simply through lived experience. That's all.
Okay, so you've talked about your family where you've learned the desire to do this, but is it just something that's in you? Well, sincerely, because nobody gave you that wisdom. Nobody sat you down and said you're 3 feet from gold. No. So where does that come from?
I would say some of it's innate, some of it's learned behaviors. Just this morning, I'm not going to share the whole story. I had someone tell me, Stephanie, you can't save everyone. And I smiled and I said, I could try.
Yeah.
I can try. I mean, I don't know if you've heard the starfish story, you know, when this little boy at the ocean and he's throwing starfish, you know, they've come up on the sand and he's throwing the starfish back into the ocean. And this little grandpa comes up to him and is like, what are you doing? You're not going to make a difference. Look at all these starfish. And the little boy picks up a starfish and he goes, made a difference to that one.
Right.
And that one. I'm going to do what I can. You know, to look at all the others and be like, this is hopeless and walk away. Like, that's just not. So I would say some of it is innate. And I think a lot of it is from my own experiences, you know?
And it's interesting because I have surrounded myself intentionally with people. One of the guests here is someone that works for a nonprofit, and he used to be the CEO at St. Vincent de Paul Society, and he has spent his entire life, well, most of his life, in philanthropy and helping people that find themselves in need. The void you fill in helping people succeed is a different kind of place that is just as important. Keeping people from being where they need St. Vincent de Paul and showing them that you can stand on your own 2 feet and you can make your dreams happen. I don't think we ever hear that enough.
I think that's true freedom.
Yes.
When you know you can stand in responsibility and you are capable of absolutely anything.
And when the goal isn't financial. How many people fail because their goals are strictly financial and it's about the money they're going to make instead of the life they're going to build?
And I think a lot of times that's coming from survival.
Sure.
Because, you know, right now it's about X amount of dollars. And in my experience, what you'll learn is when you get to X amount of dollars, it's not going to fulfill anything.
Right.
It's, again, that journey. Yeah. It's the stories and it's who you have become. Because along that journey, you have shed and you've grown.
Yeah. And so it's not even a negative thing. But if you are putting a financial tag on it, you're right. You're setting a limit. You know, if you say, I need to make X amount of dollars a month to pay my bills, then that's your goal. When maybe you can accomplish something so much bigger that nobody ever dreamed of.
Right. And I think that's part of it too, is like, okay, when you get X amount of dollars and you can do whatever it is that you planned with those money, how do you think you're going to feel? It's about the feeling. Yeah. It's not about anything other than that. And for me in this world, it's about the feeling. So it's not success isn't money to me. It's that feeling. Right. And for me, it's helping people. Like, how big can we make this? How many lives can we change? You know, what can we do?
And I think that's the part of it that I'm most moved by in this conversation is I can see in you that this is about affecting people's lives. Sure. It's not about a dollar amount. It's about affecting people's lives. And there are few people that articulate it like you do. And there are far too few people that are as excited about it as you are. I think it's incredible to see how happy you are to be talking about the influence you have in other people's lives and watching them thrive. I love that.
Thank you.
Isn't that cool? I mean, it's
put like that. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
And I think that it's funny because, behind the scenes, I had a conversation with my boss and your friend, Martha, and we talked about you this morning. And she said to me, you don't know her. Don't pretend like you do. She wasn't giving me advice on how to do the podcast, but she was saying to me, you don't know her. Don't pretend like you do. Just ask to hear her story because it's so incredible. And she was 100% right, that I had no expectation of where this conversation was going to go. Mm-hmm. And the more I learn, the more I want to know, because there's an emotion in this. Does that make sense?
Oh, for sure.
Like, you're making me not cry emotionally, but this is an emotional thing to me.
I think we're emotional beings.
We are.
And if you can live that way, to me, that's also, again, I talked about connecting our head to our heart, but if you move throughout the day in emotion, mm-hmm. it will guide you. Because if you're triggered and you don't, your body's telling you, go right or go left. It's telling you we have a path.
I want to wade into something that I hope is, you see it for what I want it to be. Let's talk about the cultural aspect.
Okay.
Because you talked about Indigenous and Latino women. Mm-hmm. And the pay gap, but how much of it is cultural, where the culture that they grow up in, mm-hmm. and embracing it, so to speak, but also the things that hold them back from it?
For sure.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I think we're all products of our environment and of our culture. And when you take a step far enough back, you can see it. But when you're in it, it's very difficult to see it. I think about the money programs that I had, and it was because it was learned behavior. It's things I saw within my home, within my culture. Also, if you're not seeing anyone in your community, like, role models are so important. Mm. Representation is huge. So it is important that when people of various backgrounds and genders and ethnicities and all the different, when they succeed, it's important that they're put on a platform so that they can be seen. Because when someone can see someone else, they now have a visual representation of that could be me. Mm-hmm. But if you don't see that, it's going to be very difficult to see the forest from the woods. Mm-hmm. So, our culture is beautiful. Every culture has its beauty, but every culture also has some downfall. And, the learned behavior, it's very, very real. It's very real.
The expectation that we have of other cultures sometimes, and defeating that. My best friend growing up, both of his parents are from Mexico. His father had about a third grade education, was a migrant worker growing up. But you remind me of him. He just passed away last year, and it was like losing my own father. He worked so hard, and he took in so many people along the way, and he became a business owner. So he worked in the fields, and then he owned, and later in life, he owned a packing house where I'd go and work in the packing produce with him. And there were so many people in that community that relied on him and looked to him as an example. Mm-hmm. And he took that so seriously that there were men and women that were working in jobs that he was the example that if Adam can do it, I could do it. Exactly. And that is so important to people. But there's also the negative of that was I also watched, as obviously very Caucasian, I watched people assume things about him because he was Mexican and because he worked in this migrant town. They didn't think he was the business owner. Does that make sense?
Oh, for sure.
And defeating that stereotype was so fun to watch because he knew it was coming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I know.
And I'm sure you know better than anyone.
I am a brown woman. I know.
But is that part of it also that you are an example to people in the community, but you're also an example to people in other communities?
For sure. For sure. On both sides of the spectrum.
Yes.
Both sides. There's many times where people will approach me and say, well, when will your husband be in? We'd like to talk to him about the business. And I just kind of laugh. Well, I don't have a husband. I am the business owner.
All right. Is there an element that makes you upset about that? Or is there an element of watch this that comes with that?
I mean, catch me on the wrong day. And it might be that. However, 95% of the time, I have fun with it. I have fun with it because I have now the opportunity to undo your learning.
Yeah. I watched this happen. I was staying, when I got divorced, I was staying with a friend who had a guest house in Paradise Valley, and I was living in his guest house for about 3 months. The neighbor across the street, a very accomplished thoracic surgeon, and he is Mexican. And he would laugh out loud because when he was outside doing yard work,
he's a landscaper.
Neighbors would stop by and ask for a business card. And so he started carrying business cards in his pocket, but it said thoracic surgeon on it.
Shocked the heck out of them.
And they were so embarrassed. They didn't mean any insult by it, but they saw him doing yard work and had all of these ideas of who he was. And he enjoyed so much the look on their face, but he was just having fun with it. He got to a point where it was fun for him. But there is an element of barriers that have to be broken down, isn't there?
I mean, for sure. And anyone who says there isn't, I could only make assumptions on what the lived experience was.
Right.
I mean, the barriers are obvious, and I don't see them ending anytime soon. It's going to be one experience after another with that landscaper who's not a landscaper.
Right.
And this is where the opportunity comes in, where he gets to have fun with it.
Right.
And show people something else.
And so, like I said, I hope this goes the direction I want, because it's a conversation I love to have, acknowledging differences.
Yes.
But also understanding that with an open heart and an open mind, that you're not giving up a culture. What you're doing is embracing it. You're allowing someone in and saying, you can think what you want, but now there's a reality. There's a truth to be told by people. So your success, where people are going to have an idea of who you are and walk away with a completely different impression, has got to be also a sense of responsibility for you, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every day. Every day.
Because there's always listen, we all have them. We have people in our family or people that we know that they're not going to be tolerant or embracing of things that would have a negative feeling toward you, that you just think you're full of yourself or whatever else. And I just don't dwell on those things. I look at people and I think, what an amazing story of people. You say, I'm helping a community that I come from. And there are those that are going to say, well, that's too exclusionary, or why don't you help everybody? Well, the fact of the matter is, what you're doing is lifting so many people up. Why would anybody argue with it? But you have to face that, don't you?
Oh, yeah. And what I will say is, I touched on it earlier, I look through the lens of a woman of color. So I can speak on an expert level on what that's like. I cannot speak what it's like to be a white man or an African-American man.
Right.
So I can start an organization to help those men. However, I'm not sure I'm the right person to do that.
Or be as effective.
Right. So I will also say, if there's anyone interested in the program, that we are not passing judgment based on ethnicity and gender and anything else. If you want in on this community, apply. I happen to be hyper-focused on women of color because this is where my lived experience comes from.
Right. And I just, being willing to not get offended to the point of, I'm not talking to you about it, is important to me. Does that make sense? That if we can't have a conversation about what is painfully obvious to everybody, we're not going to ever change it.
Agreed. I love sticky conversation.
Me too.
Because to me, that's where growth happens.
Right.
Because I want to learn other people's perceptions and views and values.
And where they come from.
Exactly. And let's peel the onion and let's have that conversation. Yeah, I love those sticky conversations.
For me to watch that as a young boy, as a teenager, here I was with this disaster at home, but what it gave me was I had to reach out to other people. And here's this man that invited me into his home and gave me work. And he was the hardest working guy I'd ever met. And then to have him laugh at what people saw or thought they saw, it was so disarming for me. Does that make sense? Because you grew up in the South in the 1970s and early 80s. It was a different world. And so there was all of these things that were just the way it was. And then there were people like him. And he embraced that and said, watch this.
Yep.
And I loved it.
Yep. Throwing those starfish in.
Right?
One at a time.
One at a time. When he passed away last year, and I flew back for his funeral, his oldest daughter eulogized him. And she talked about how many people he had helped and how many people looked to him and how many people he took in. And that's when I had my breakdown. Mm-hmm. And I told her after, I was one of those people. And she said, I was thinking of you. Because I was. And have you thought about that part of it in your life? How many people are going to point to you and are pointing to you and saying, she changed my life?
I don't think I'm there yet.
Oh, you're there.
Well, from a personal reflection, I hope that that's the case.
I think this is where you're being too humble, because you can't help as many people as you've helped start reaching their potential. When you spark belief in someone in themselves, there's no way that they can't point to you and say, she changed my life. It's not possible.
Yeah. I'll receive that.
Okay. Do you think about that at all?
Not really. I think I'm so in the work. Mm-hmm. This is still very new. Mm-hmm. I'm still so in the work. I hope to impact lives this way. I hope that that's what does happen, that's the result. But I don't think I'm there yet.
See, it's strange for me as we keep talking about age, or I keep talking about age, not you, but I do, to realize that I'm closer to the end than I am at the beginning. And I think so much about legacy, not about putting a plaque on the wall. I mean, people that I can influence, or that I want to be a better friend. Mm-hmm. I want to be a better person, because that time matters to me more. That legacy matters to me more than money, or more than ratings, more than anything else. It's how will you remember me to people that are in my life that are important to me? And maybe it's age, I don't know. But that to me matters. I want my friends to know how much I care about them. Does that make sense?
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm in my head, I'm thinking you should have like a living funeral.
You know what's funny? This is nothing the direction I thought we were going to go. You know how many times I've thought about that? Where I've said out loud to people, we say the most beautiful things about people when they are dead.
Yes.
That what I would love to do, I'm going to give away an idea now. I would love to put together an event where we choose somebody to eulogize that's alive.
Yes.
And it's a fundraiser. You buy tables like you would in anything else, and we raise money for something.
I love that.
And we bring together their friends, and we bring together, and it's got to be someone, obviously somebody everybody knows. And we say all the things about them, and we crack all the jokes we're going to at their funeral, and we do it with them sitting there.
Will you send me a save the date? Okay. I'd like to buy a table. I would love to support that fundraiser.
But wouldn't that be a fun thing to do?
Yes.
Because my brother was killed in Iraq back in 2003. And one piece of solace for our family was that A, we were very, very close, but connected to that A would be B, there was no unfinished business. And we're so thankful for that. There was never I wish I hadn't said that, or I wish I would have said that. And wouldn't it be great to be able to say that to someone?
Oh, I agree. I'm already thinking of my nominees.
Okay. Well, maybe, what we'll do is we should raise some money for your organization.
I love that.
And we'll bring Martha.
Oh, yeah.
And she'll be the one we eulogize. And you can pick all the people that tell the best stories about her.
I'm there for it.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
But the idea is, how will people remember you? Mm-hmm. And I mean, you're not thinking about legacy, but I just hope, I just would hope that you see what I see and that you have to have affected so many lives and there's so many more to come. But have you ever just paused for a moment to think that, yes, I am making a difference?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, definitely.
That's terrific because you are. And is there a goal in mind, or like you said, do you want to set limits? It's just going to be as big as we can make it because it'll always be better.
Yeah, I think right now that's where I'm at, is how big can this get? And I'll say that because when I look back at fair trade, I never thought it was going to be or look the way that it does or feel the way that it does or do what it does. I knew it was going to be a coffee shop, a community-based coffee shop, but not like this.
So the name came from your experience in seeing?
No, the name comes from a certification. It's fair trade you can get fair trade soaps and fair trade everything. So it's a way to ensure that the product that you're buying is done ethically and consciously. Okay. So kind of back to what we were saying, I would have never thought fair trade was going to be what it is. And because of my experience at fair trade, this is where the nonprofit AYA was born. So I have no idea what this is going to take me to. I know it's going to take me somewhere. So it's not because I'm lacking a vision or goals or anything like that. It's because I'm relinquishing control and allowing for whatever is going to come, for me to use whatever is going to come and take that to the next place.
This has honestly been one of the most fascinating conversations. We did these podcasts because I knew that there were stories in Arizona that needed to be told. And some of them, we've had Jerry Colangelo in here, and we've had some of those people. But it's stories like this that need to be told that I had no idea where this was going to go. And it's been one of my most favorite ones we've done. I appreciate your time. As busy as you are, to take all this time out means a lot. I hope you got something out of it.
This has been a great hour.
All right.
Thank you.
I appreciate
so
it.
Much.
If you don't know why we do these, this is the episode that tells you why we tell these stories. Please share this with your friends. I hope you're inspired by it. And we'll do it again next week.
Thanks for watching Amazing Arizonans, presented by Resolution Copper. Tap the button in the middle to subscribe to KTAR News.